What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Get Over Yourself podcast, a podcast dedicated to self-development, self-improvement, and helping you achieve the goals that you've laid forth in your life. I'm your podcast host, Brandon Davis, and in today's episode of the podcast, I'm going to be discussing the concept of dare to be different. Guys, in today's society, with the influx of social media, so many different platforms out there these days, with the influx of depression and mental health concerns, there are so many different ways that we are divided, whether that be through our color, through our financial status, through our jobs, through our schooling. There's all these differentiating factors, but they still force us into these groups. If you ever have filled out an application for a job or for applying for a visa or you applying for a college or a grant or whatever it may be, you notice there's all these different labels you can mark yourself as. You can be white, you can be African American, you could be Native American, you could have $40,000, you could be at $100,000, you could be in a certain tax bracket, you can live in a certain area. There's all these different ways that through the government forms or through schooling or different organizations and whatnot, that's how they classify you. That's all a lot of times they see you as. And I think backtracking a little bit, the reason why I wanted to jump on this topic is because a few weeks ago I was hearing from an accountant, and he was saying, how does the IRS look at you? Your taxpayer ID number. They don't know who you are. They don't know anything about you. They just see your number. And that kind of struck me. I was thinking to myself, wow, like we to higher up powers, government or whoever it may be, organizations, they only see us as our number, or they only see us as our ethnicity, or they only see us as being from whatever state you're from, or whatever job you have, or whatever education you have. But guys, today's episode, I want to be focusing on the differences. I want us to be able to find ways and areas inside of our lives where we are different, and we're different from not just a couple people, but so many thousands, millions, billions of people here on this earth. What makes us individually unique? What makes us have our own unique perspectives on life, our own journeys, our own expressions, our own temptations, our own failures, our own successes? I am a firm believer that every single person has their own values, their own ways to live life, and I think everyone truly is special. And so that's what I have in store for today's episode. I'm going to be breaking down that concept into a few different areas. And so with that all being said, let's jump into today's episode. So guys, the concept of daring to be different. Like I said, one of the main reasons why I thought this topic was kind of on my, the tip of my brain or the tip of my tongue, however that expression goes, right? It's because I was meeting with this accountant a few weeks ago, and he was just simply saying, yeah, the IRS, they only know you by your taxpayer ID number. And obviously, like, from a standpoint of you trying to pay your taxes and whatnot, that makes total sense. Why would they need more information? They don't need to know who you are just to get their job done. But that got me thinking, how often in our lives do we let people kind of just take us for the base level that they see? For instance, if you're watching this, or if you've seen a picture of me or you know me, I have blonde hair. That's one way people can identify me as. I have blue eyes. I wear clothes that fit my body, like that are medium to large size. Maybe you'll classify me as a BYU college student. Maybe you'll classify me as a podcaster, right? There's all these big categories that people can put us in, whether the way you look, the things you do, where you live. There's all these differentiating factors that people can categorize us as. However, a lot of times people don't feel their own individual uniqueness, their own perspectives on life, their own outlooks, their own self-worth, their own sense of pride, because they're categorized. And I think categorization, obviously, it needs to get done in many different aspects of business or life. But when you're looking on your own individual worth, when you're having a really rough day, you get home and, your boss screamed at you, your roommates didn't clean up their dirty dishes, you just lost a family member, one of your friends isn't talking to you, whatever the tough situation may be for that day, that week, that month. What does not help more than anything than you not knowing who you truly are and you thinking that you're just another body here on this earth. And the reason why I want to jump into this even further, so like I said, we had the tax, we had my accountant who was going over this concept that kind of got it brewing in my head. And then I actually heard a very interesting quote, and it's from this book that I've been reading, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Great book for anyone out there who hasn't read it or would like more information. You can message me or look it up. It's just basically a concept of how you can become financially independent and goes over a bunch of different strategies. But Robert, he's the author, he said something in the book that really stuck out to me and kind of linked this example I had with my accountant back to what I'm sharing with you today, the difference of daring to be different. And he said, life is sometimes tough when you do not fit the standard profile. Life is sometimes tough when you do not fit the standard profile. And I love that quote. I love the concept of being different from the rest of the pack, doing your own thing. We're categorized once again by so many different aspects. So where in your life can you be different? Where can you show the difference? And in my personal opinion, I think Robert is completely correct. Once again, going back to his book, it's all about finances. So where can you be different in your finances is kind of his moral of the story on that one. But connecting that to all other aspects of our life, where can you personally be different inside of your career, inside of your friend group, inside of your family, inside of other relationships? Where can you be different in your community? Where can you be different in your church responsibilities? Where can you be different in your gym? Where can you be different? There's a million different places you can be different. But where can you let your light shine? Where can you dare to stand different than anyone else? In this concept, this idea of daring to be different is something that takes a lot of self-reflection. It takes a lot of maturity and humility to say, this is who I am in this instance. And in some places, maybe you are pretty average. Maybe you are one of the categorizations. Like for me, for instance, I love working out, but I'm not some huge, massive person. I don't have killer abs. I don't have huge muscles or anything like that. And so in that instance, even though I love working out and it's one of my favorite things to do every single day, I wouldn't categorize myself as a gym junkie. I wouldn't categorize myself in that way. I'm different in the aspect that I'm just kind of doing my workouts, and that's okay with me. And some people are different by being absolutely massive. But in that same note, one way that I feel like I really stand out against most people, how I'm really different, is by having this podcast. There's a million different podcasts out there, but there's only one Get Over Yourself. There's only one that I personally do. That's one area that I find difference inside of my life. And I want you to think about that for all sorts of different jobs, all sorts of different interests. Take, for example, what if every single person wanted to host their own podcast about self-development? Well, you probably wouldn't be listening to my podcast here today. Or what if, for instance, everyone, they didn't want to be different in their careers or their occupations. Everyone wanted to be just doctors. Be great. We'd probably have a lot of people who are a lot healthier. But how's everything else going to get done? Who's going to go pick up the trash? Who's going to go drop off the mail? Who's going to go and deliver your groceries? Who's going to go walk the dogs? Yeah, I guess the point I'm trying to make here is a lot of times people put us in these categories and we feel ashamed that we're not fitting that category perfectly. Like, for instance, going back to my gym example, I might sometimes feel ashamed when I go to the gym and I look to my left and the guy next to me is benching way heavier weight than me. Or I look to my right and that person's hitting abs their abs are just popping out, And I'm human. Like from time to time, I'm definitely like, man, I wish I could be stronger. I wish I could have those abs. Or in your case, maybe it's, I wish I could be the lawyer. I wish I could be the doctor. I wish I could be the rich billionaire like Elon Musk or Zuckerberg, or whoever it may be. There's all these different people that we will look at and think, why can't I be them? But you're not looking at the bigger picture. You're not looking at your life and thinking, wow, I'm different. And you never know. Maybe that person at the gym that you were looking at, you're looking to the left and you're seeing that person lift a crazy weight. You never know. Maybe there's somebody on your right looking at you. They're looking towards their left and thinking, wow, I wish I could lift as heavy as them. And they're pointing at you. Or maybe it's, I wish I could get the grades like that kid, when you're sitting here worrying about somebody else and how great of grades they're getting. Moral of the story I want to get at, guys, is It's okay to have your differences. It's okay to be unique in your own aspects, because so many people are always judging themselves. So many people are always putting themselves in a different viewpoint. Especially, once again, you've heard me say this a million times on the podcast, but going on social media, even, how many times are you wanting somebody else's life? How many times are you wanting what they have, their clothes, their cars, their house, their vacations, their lifestyle? Guys, it's okay to be different. It's okay that you're going and you're working the job that you wanted to do. You're going to the gym at your own hours. You're going to live the life that you wanted, because nobody's going to tell you different. You're going to choose that for yourself. Another fun example I was thinking of as I was preparing this episode is food. Can you imagine if every single person had the exact same taste of food? You would never be different in your choice of food. Everyone would be eating the same bland stuff every single day. There'd be no variety. There'd be no special interest. There'd be no modifications. It'd just be bland. Everyone would get bored of it. That same principle goes into your life, you guys. Imagine, this is kind of a weird example, but imagine if you were this metaphorical food. What if every single person was just like you? You were a slice of pepperoni pizza and every single person around you was just pepperoni pizza as well. Sure, people enjoy it, but after a while, you don't want to keep eating pepperoni pizza every single meal. Guys, at the end of the day, it's okay to be different. It's okay to show your own uniqueness and your own interests. It's okay if your friend group wants to go to a party and you sit back and say, I'm not too much of a party guy. It's okay if you want to stand out in your classroom and be the smartest person, if you work for it, if you grind for it. It's okay to be different. And I want to take that a step further and talk about, how can you be different? What are some areas you can actually find a difference inside of your life? And one big area that I personally think in my life where I'm different, once again, I have the podcast, but steps on how I got to be different, how I view myself as different from a lot of people, is routines, work ethics, values, and discipline. These 4 concepts kind of chalk up the framework of how somebody can be different. And I want to dive into those 4 a little bit deeper. So first, I want to start with work ethic. How somebody works determines a lot about them. And it obviously depends on what you're working on as well. Are you working on just fun little side projects? That's amazing. That's probably going to boost your endorphins. It's probably going to make you a happier person. But obviously, at the end of the day, work still needs to get done. So what is your work ethic when it comes to working your 9 to 5, or starting your own business, or working a side hustle, or maybe you're a college student and you're just working part-time? What is your work ethic? Are you putting in all the effort that you could be? Are you setting aside time to learn from your mistakes that you made on the job? Are you setting aside time to work a little bit harder? Give the extra 15 minutes of work. Show your bosses that you actually deserve something. You deserve that raise. You deserve that promotion. Or are you just riding the wave like every other employee does? You're just riding that clock. I'm going to show up no minute earlier than 9 and leave no minute later than 5. How are you different in your work ethic? Next one, your values. This is something that can really determine how somebody is different inside of their life. Guys, the world is crazy. The world promotes so many nasty things these days. Things that, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago would just be like a shock to everyone. And now it's just common, whether that be the language people uses, drugs, pornography, all these crazy things that in the past would have seemed crazy that we're even at the point we're at here, and as a society, that we're allowing these sorts of things to happen. But nowadays, and once again, I don't condone these things, and so I think it's kind of sad, but you have to set yourself different in your values as well. Show people that, like, maybe as an example, all your friends keep going to a bar and you're spending a crap ton of money on alcohol or partying, and you don't even like that kind of lifestyle. Tell them, show them you're different. Stop going to the bars with them. Do other activities with them. Instead of going to the bars, go to the gym. Instead of going to the bars, keep working on creating content for your YouTube channel, or starting up your business, or going golfing, doing something you enjoy. Also, you can set aside your differences in your values. You can be different when you're actually proving to people that you're willing to live them. It's one thing to say what kind of values you have, but then it's totally different to live them. So I guess those two kind of coincide with each other. Now, the third topic out of the 4, remember, is routine. What kind of routine are you displaying to yourself? Are you living the standard routine that most people live, where you're waking up at, say, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, you're just kind of going throughout your day, moseying once again through that 9 to 5, not really setting yourself apart, get home, maybe make some dinner, hang out with the family or friends, crash, start over? Do you ever feel like your days are very mundane because that's all you're doing? Is you're waking up, going to work, getting home, starting over? Are you one of those people that literally works for the weekend? You love the Friday after work call where you go hang out with all the buddies and you party on Saturday, Sunday you rest up a little bit and then you start again on Monday? Are you enjoying your weekdays? Are you enjoying the time that you have just for yourself? Are you enjoying the time you have with your coworkers, your colleagues, your friends, your family? Are you setting yourself up for success with your routine? Or are you setting yourself up for failure? What time are you waking up? What time are you going to bed? What time are you trying to get things done during your day? I mean, as I've said on the podcast before, I'm terrible about going to bed. My sleeping schedule is horrible. That's something I've worked on for years and I'm still working on. But when I am awake, am I getting things done that I need to be doing? How's my routine during the day? Am I setting aside appropriate time to get things done? Am I wasting time? How's that looking? How can I differentiate myself from others? It's by making a routine that actually works for my schedule, a routine where I'm going to get stuff done. Now, number 4, this is how I want to close out on today's episode, is discipline. How can you be different through your discipline? And I think discipline, the reason why I wanted to close with discipline is because it kind of overarches over all of these other 3 themes, the routine, the work ethic, and the values. Discipline kind of goes along with all 3 of those. And at the end of the day, all I want to say for discipline is, if you want to be different, be disciplined. If you want to be different, if you want to set yourself apart from all the other candidates, if you're applying for a job and you want to set yourself above everyone else, if you're trying to be different in the world, if you're trying to show your differences, if you're trying to prove to people that you can do something, how strong is your discipline? Are these little stints of motivation only lasting for a week, a month, a year, and then you give up? Is it lasting for only a couple of days? Are you disciplined enough to keep being different, to keep standing out from everyone else? What line are you trying to draw? What perspective are you trying to show others? And what kind of discipline do you have for yourself? Because at the end of the day, guys, all these different principles that I brought up, these 4 different areas, the work ethic, the values, the routine, and the discipline, it's not for anybody else. It's for you. Remember that. It's for you. Be disciplined to yourself. Prove to yourself that you have values. Prove to yourself that you can stick to a routine that will work, that will help you increase your lifestyle, optimize your life, and also prove to yourself that you have a work ethic, that you're willing to put in the extra time, the extra hours, the extra practice to do stuff that other people simply can't do, to be different. Guys, that's a lot of information, but it's something, once again, usually when I do these personal episodes, it's something that I'm very passionate about, whether it's something that somebody brought up over on Instagram or emailing me or reaching out on some other social media platform, whether they kind of were talking with me about it and they wanted an episode about that, or it's just something I've seen recently in my own life or something I've been trying to live for a while. Being different is something, I'll end with this. Being different is something that I'm passionate about. I don't like when people are the exact same. I don't like when people keep doing the exact same stuff over and over again and expect different results. I don't like when people are trying to act like everyone else. And I recognize as well, we're humans. We'll fall into that in many different ways. Going back to the categorization, there's many ways that I'm very, very, very similar to every other single person who does the various activities that I do. But I like focusing on the differences I have in my own life that set me apart. Not differences to put myself above others, not differences to form different factions and whatnot in groups, but differences that make me feel on my self growth journey, make me feel good, make me feel like I am my own individual, that I'm cherished, I can love myself, and that I can continue going forward knowing that I'm the only one who can get that done. I'm the only one who can host the Get Over Yourself podcast. Now, what are you different about? What is the only thing that you can offer? Now, say this with me. Insert your name. So whatever your name is, Bob Joe, I am different in, and say however you're different. That's my challenge for you at the end of this episode, is leave yourself with that affirmation. Leave yourself with that mantra and saying how you're different, and live it every single day. Use it with your work ethic, your values, your routine, and your discipline. And guys, dare to be different. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, Make sure to leave a good comment or review, or share it with somebody who you may think need it at this time. Thanks so much, everybody, and just remember, it'll all be okay. Just take a step back and continue being different from everyone else.